hard to see a future right now for the type of work that we want to do, because there doesn't seem to be any infrastructure that we can kind of connect to. I've always dreamt of something like that happening in this area. And there's so many environmental groups in Vancouver, in BC. How do we connect them to the arts?
When I think of who's doing that in BC, I mean, I'm sure there's lots, but the Caravan Farm Theatre comes to mind. They have land. There's so few arts organizations that own land.
When you look at the new cultural plan, what constitutes public art is slowly changing.
I don't see myself as an artist. Within my culture, within my communities, we don't identify people as artists because everybody has that in them. So it's like a Western colonial construct of this professionalized group called artists.
Whenever I think about city and sustainability discussions, there's a lot that we can talk about around what it takes to build a building and make it eco-friendly.
How can we bring engagement through creativity and healing practices and ceremony into those spaces?
One of the words that I find I can't use in these spaces is like words like spirituality, because the way the Western colonial construct of space and society is like we separate the sacred and the secular.
Now is the time to heighten those elements of your work and your intention with your work. We need artists to help us with the climate movement.
One of the big things that I think we're trying to look at is how we can engage more with the people who might want to move to this area. We're open for ideas right now.
Arts and culture have the ability to unravel the binaries and the structures. Where artists tend to live is in those spaces in between. This is the group of people that I feel like are the ones who puzzle over this stuff.
How do you finish the work? How do you dream the work? How do you write the grant? Because you need to write the grant. Social justice will be the most pressing thing.
The Fairmont building was purpose-built in 1914, so it's over 100 years old. This building is going to be coming down or be relocated.
That site in particular, the story of the RCMP, I knew that was an art, but I didn't know that MST had purchased the land from them. That is such rich fodder right there for a conversation, a continued conversation.
So how do we actually engage with future generations for decisions that we're making now?
Things we're talking about are monumental, but it's nice to know that people are really chewing on this. Buildings we were looking at, and is that RCM building, maybe it's just not done. And maybe that taking it apart and building it into something else, it was never finished. It's still, it will be something else, and it will continue to grow. The idea of art as a means for expanding the ability for collective imagination.
One thing that I've learned recently in listening to Indigenous voices is about the difference between your responsibility versus rights. Like, what's my right here to what's my responsibility here?
Indigenous folks in Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people are the leaders in us realizing that.
What emerges from that becomes things that point you to larger things that could maybe change the way that neighborhoods and cities are shaped. Again, to stop for a moment and thank the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people for stewarding this land for thousands of years, and what a gift it is for us to be here. And to all of you for coming out today to think with all of us on the land.